But how do you answer that question from the Steelers pod, the Stillers pod, Yins, all that stuff, earlier today? And they asked me if you could have any quarterback from this game over the next 5 to 7 years, who would it be? Would it be Kenny Pickett, first quarterback taken in 2022, or Brock Purdy, last quarterback taken in 2022?
How do I think you would answer, or how do I think they would answer?
How would you answer?
I would take Brock Purdy.
Why?
Because I've seen Brock Purdy, and I've seen what he does in this offense, and I think he's a great fit for what Kyle Shanahan likes to do. Kyle Shanahan's a control freak, and he likes to have a guy who he can control. And he's got a guy who will do exactly what Kyle says. And it's tongue-in-cheek, obviously, but I do think that Brock Purdy sees it. Kyle Shanahan wants a quarterback who can see it. He wants a quarterback who can get the ball out of his hands to his playmakers, and Brock Purdy does that. Brock Purdy understands the offense. He knows how to run the offense, and I do think that he's got a very fast mind when it comes to diagnosing what the defense will do. And so I would rather have Brock Purdy with this offense, having seen what I've seen.
Well, I told them when they asked it, I go, I'm going to try to avoid the cop-out answer. The cop-out answer would have been to answer the question with a question and say, well, you have to tell me which system are we in.
Right.
Kenny Pickett or Brock Purdy, are we in the 49ers system? What are we doing out here? And I said, but I'm going to avoid that answer because that's no fun. And so your podcast doesn't want that.
And the two systems, by the way, are very remarkably similar in approach. Now, in scheme, they're markedly different. Kyle Shanahan uses a fullback, 21 personnel, 2 running backs, 1 tight end. Pittsburgh doesn't usually use a fullback. They like a lot of 12 personnel, 1 running back, 2 tight ends. They both love to run it. They want to set up the pass through the run, and they want to set up the run through more runs. So in terms of the approach, these two teams are very similar. You're going to see a lot of runs on Sunday.
It was interesting because I dove into this a little further. The answer I gave them at the time was, I'm going to take Brock Purdy for this reason. I don't know if he's a great quarterback. I don't even know, actually, if he's a really good quarterback. What I know is he's not a bum, and therefore his floor is up here. He's got a very high floor. That's what we watched last year. We know that he is proficient, efficient. He is all of these things. He can function. His teammates voted him captain. They're impressed. That doesn't mean he's great. It means his floor is high. So if I'm signing up for something over the next 5 to 7 years and both of them have a measure of the unknown, give me the highest floor. I think that's Brock Purdy. They, of course, responded with the answer is Kenny Pickett, and then they went through their whole reasons why. And I know what their reasons are, whether they'll admit it or not. Their reasons are Kenny had a really sparkly preseason. Ooh.
Gorgeous.
Don't you love it when they light up the
rehearsal,
the games that don't count?
Exactly.
I went back and looked at Kenny Pickett's numbers last year, and y'all will be floored.
I'm looking right now, Mark.
Kenny Pickett has a good receiving core. Kenny Pickett has a great coach. Kenny went out there and won more games than he lost last year. And Kenny came back this year, looks like he's got better command, better arm strength, better accuracy. I believe he will be better this year. That's all wonderful. The truth of the matter is, though, this dude went out there and started 12 games last year. He played in 13, and in those 13 games, totaled 7 touchdowns. Fewer than the number of interceptions he threw. Kenny Pickett is a total maybe. And quite frankly, we've seen nothing to indicate that he's got star qualities in this league.
Carly Rae Jepsen, call me maybe.
He might develop, but I don't think you can, with a straight face, tell me that Kenny Pickett has done anything, like anything close to what Brock Purdy has achieved in this league. And both of them have at least a similar number of starts, sample size, if you will.
Yep, I'm looking at Kenny Pickett. He had 12 starts. He started 9 games, and then he missed a game, and he started 3 more. How about this for an opener? His first game as a starter, 34 of 52, 327. No touchdowns. That's almost impossible to do, Coach.
Mm-hmm.
No TDs, one pick. You lose to Buffalo 38-3. He was 34 of 52. That's a good game. That's a nice debut. 327, but no touchdowns.
It is, although I would also say 34 completions is a lot to end up with how many yards?
327. That's about 9.5 yards per. That's pretty good.
Like you're down by 30 points.
Sure.
And you're hitting 10 yards,
I'm
10
more
yards,
struck
10
by
yards.
52 attempts and no touchdowns.
Right.
And I wonder what the record is for passing attempts and no TDs. The next game, he goes 11 of 18 in a win for 67 yards and a touchdown. 32 of 44 with 3 picks in a loss at Miami. Then he goes 25 of 38. He's shown great signs of being a good quarterback, but I also think that the way Pittsburgh likes to run it is a little Brock Purdian in terms of a lot of dink and dunk, a lot of controlled passing routes.
Don't you do that to Brock. That's already been debunked. Go to Kurt Warner. He'll tell you. Brock Purdy's not a dink and dunk.
It's the offense that he runs. The offense is, it has nothing to do with the quarterback. It has to do with the play calls.
I mean, and actually, I wouldn't even call that what Kyle runs as dink and dunk. I think it's funny that people want him to huck the ball over the top all day. They don't even have the personnel to do that. Brock could have a great deep ball. Who's catching it? What are you going to put Danny Gray in? And then surprise everybody when he goes deep? Like, that's not what Debo does. That's not what McCaffrey does. And quite frankly, it's not even what Ayuk does. So that's not what this offense does.
Right.
Anyway.
Kenny Pickett won the last 5 games that he started and finished.
Solid.
Which is where the comp comes in. They beat Indy and Atlanta. He got hurt after one throw against Baltimore in a loss, but, much like Brock Purdy, we're not going to count that because he didn't finish the game.
Yeah.
And then he sat out the next week, and then he beat Vegas, Baltimore on the road, and he beat Cleveland. So that's, I think, where the comps come in, and they were in the same draft class.
I think he is a strong, okay possibility, could develop, and if he does, I think the Steelers are going to be excellent this year. But to dive deep, and I also remember this. I don't even know why. I just feel like the Steelers get a lot of pub, and if you're a red zone watcher, you get a lot of Steelers. There's a lot of close games. There's a lot of 19-16 in that division, and I caught a lot of Kenny Pickett last year. Maybe it was also, I think I had Deontay Johnson on my fantasy team.
Nice.
So I wanted more out of that offense, and I found Kenny. It was okay. He was a young player, but I found Kenny to be severely lacking in terms of creating an offense that felt like it had firepower. He went 7-5 as a starter. He wasn't awful.
Yeah, one of those games, 7-4.
Okay.
Because, he threw one pass in the loss against Baltimore.
Okay. Well, that's funny coming from you when you just called Brock Purdy 7-1.
Yeah, I'm going to give him 7-5, but I want to make sure that we're clear.
Brock Purdy 7-0.
I'm going to make sure that we're clear about where his 7-5 comes from.
Okay. Yeah.
So he was 7-5.
No, I don't think he's terrible, but a quarterback who plays in 13 games, this guy's throwing a touchdown every 2 weeks.
Sure.
That's not good.
Well,
that's not good at all.
His losses, and I'm just going to defend him for the sake of good conversation here because I would take Brock Purdy over Kenny Pickett, but he lost at Buffalo, at Miami, at Philadelphia, against Cincinnati, against Baltimore. Those are his losses.
Those are really good teams.
He lost to Baltimore by 2, and that's the game where he only played 1 snap.
Yeah, but now list the teams he beat.
He beat always good Tampa Bay, recent champion. He beat New Orleans at home.
So junk and junk. What else?
He beat the Indianapolis Colts on the road.
Junk.
On the road, Mark.
Junk.
He beat Atlanta on the road.
Junk.
Niners couldn't beat Atlanta.
I knew you were going to say that.
Niners couldn't beat Atlanta on the road.
Junk.
That's not junk. Atlanta
of course
was good.
These are all teams that had a losing record. Every single one of them.
He won over Las Vegas.
Junk.
Brock Purdy barely gutted it out.
Fair enough.
13-10, they beat Vegas. He won at Baltimore. Huh? You want to disparage that?
No, they weren't junk. They weren't great.
15-27 for $168 in that win. Oof. In January in Baltimore. And then he beat Cleveland at home. Okay. The always rugged NFC North.
Rugged, yeah. How many times did they score? Because I remember Niners averaged 33 a game with Purdy.
Yeah.
Yeah. How many times they score over 30 with Kenny Pickett as the QB?
I'm seeing carry the 3, 4 once.
Once.
Mark, once.
Who was that? When was that game?
Lost to Cincy, 37-30.
Oh.
He threw for 265 and a touchdown.
I thought I said how many times they score over 30.
Well, I mean, 0. Okay. 30 or more, over 30.
Uh-huh.
I love where you put the bar.
Well, how many times they score under 20?
Ah, boy. With the aforementioned Kenny Pickett,
Yeah.
that would be 1, 2, 3.
Not
Under
3.
what?
Under 20.
Oh, God.
19 or less.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, carry the 2. 7 times, Mark.
Good God.
But a lot of those were wins.
Oh.
He's a game manager.
Exactly.
You play to win the game. Hello?
You're listening to 95.7 The Game, KGMZ FM and HD1 San Francisco. Always live on the free Odyssey app, Twitch and YouTube, powered by First NorCal Credit Union. I've got a lot of what they call George Pickens shares this year in fantasy football. So I'm not here to say that I think Kenny Pickett's a bad player.
Okay.
I'm not here to say that at all.
That means you have him on multiple teams?
Correct.
Of your 4 teams, you got him on like 2 or 3?
It's at least 2. It
Okay.
might be
Might
3.
be more.
I don't know. Yeah, I kept getting to that sort of like 8th round, 9th round, and I'm like, I like Pickens. That's what I like here. And so I kept ending up with him. But
I do have Najee Harris in our league, so
yeah, I'm
not feeling great about it this week.
I'm fading Najee. I do like that kid they got behind him.
Yeah, a
I
lot of
love
people
that
do.
kid. Jalen Warren, he's exciting. That's a good player.
Yeah.
Watch out for him when he's on the field, Fred. Watch out for Jalen Warren when he's on the field.
It's going to be a tough week for Najee, but I still have a lot of faith in the kid out of Antioch.
You look at the Niners' defensive line, and it is like all of a sudden, right? You put Bosa back on it.
Nasty.
Jeez.
Yeah.
What a problem. What a problem for other teams.
Just seeing Javon Hargrave up close and personal at camp when we were out there for, I guess, the voluntary workouts, when they were in shorts, and you see him get down in the squat and get into his stance, and you look, and I try not to stare or gawk at other people. It's a little bit rude, but I found myself looking at his lower half, and it's like, my God. And he comes off the ball, what's wrong with you guys?
I just pushed away from the microphone. I'm going to let you do this.
His center of gravity, his hindquarters, the quads, the hammies. My God, the glutes on this man, Mark. I could go on and on. You're listening to 95.7 The Game, KGMZ FM and HD1, an Odyssey station. Always live on Twitch and YouTube. I'm Dan Dibley, and I'm talking about another man's hindquarters. And my God, Mark.
Powered by
First NorCal Credit Union.
There you go.
And I want to apologize to the good people at First NorCal Credit Union.
Thank you.
This man's backside.
Grandy, didn't I already do the legal? I think I already did. You can apologize to me, too.
Felt good coming out. Go ahead and roll that one over to the 5 o'clock.
A moment.
Javon Hargrave, Mark. You talk about the front four. This man, Niner fans, you're going to love it. The man he's got 2-gap coverage just standing still.
You're going to love his butt.
Oh, my
Wait till you see his butt. It's going to be incredible.
Man.
I don't usually look at butts at 10 in the morning, but
I don't either, but
I mean, I work in the afternoon,
God.
so sometimes you
we're
gotta.
out there on the sideline at Santa Clara, and it was about 90 degrees, and all of a sudden I'm like, it might be 95. It's getting hot in here.
All right.
Shout out Nelly. Are you ready for a little trivia question, Mark?
Sure.
You
Fire
mentioned
away.
Kenny Pickett.
I'm terrible at trivia, but go ahead.
This is an easy one.
I'm like Tuesday night at a bar. You don't want me there.
Oh my God, I'm
like,
a monster.
Oh my gosh, everybody's like, we're doing it. Everybody getting circle tables. I'm like, my brain.
Oh my God.
I can't. Like, there are things I know, but it doesn't work that way.
I have got 5 tools.
Okay.
I know the useless knowledge. I'm awesome at music. You want me on your trivia team.
Okay.
I'm like Javon Hargrave in a 3-point stance.
I'll go get you a beer. You guys do the trivia. I'll go get the drinks.
Grandy, if you would, please, game show music. Scat-da-da-da. Anything to get me off of Javon Hargrave's hamstrings.
Yeah, that was one of your 5 senses.
Yeah,
Anyway, go ahead.
it was. Kenny Pickett was taken 20th in the NFL draft in 2022. He was the first quarterback taken at number 20.
Okay.
When was the last draft year that the first quarterback taken was selected after the 20th pick overall?
Oh, God.
What year?
I mean, that's such a hard way to ask it. What year?
I'll give you plus or minus 1 year.
1998. No. Was it the year that? Was it the year that? Was it 1998?
It actually was 1997.
Oh, I knew it. I had no idea. What? Who was it? I was going to talk about E.J. Manuel. But
I'm glad you said that.
But
because
he was like 16 or 17,
correct,
right?
Correct.
Yeah.
And there was one of the year between 97 and now where the first quarterback was taken at like 17 or 18. But in the year of 1997, the 49ers made a selection at quarterback at, I think, 25 or 26. I'll have to Google it.
1997?
Jim Drunkenmiller. Drunky. I was drunk.
I was going to give you a Gio Carmazzi, but that was not a first rounder.
That was the Brady draft.
Yeah.
Jim Druckenmiller was the first QB taken in that draft, 1997.
Golly. It's a different league then.
Right.
That's not possible ever again. That will be a record forever. Never, ever, ever again in the history and the future of the league will there be no quarterback taken until the 25th pick.
It just happened last year in 2022.
What do you mean?
Well, it was the 20th pick,
right.
But Kenny Pickett.
But I'm saying never, ever, ever will it be 25 again. And I don't even know if it'll ever be 20 again.
Right.
For multiple reasons. The focus on the quarterback and the rules. The rules are such now that quarterbacks are performing at such a statistically high level. The obsession with getting them is I think, at an even higher level. And so people who shouldn't be the first, second, and third pick in the draft will often be the first, second, and third pick in the draft. Dude, look at the Pac-12 alone right now has probably 4 guys who are first-round draft picks.
Yeah.
I mean...
plus the being in the first round, you get that fifth-year option. So the temptation of having a quarterback under 5-year control. Desmond Ridder was a third-rounder. Malik Willis in the third. Matt Corral's the third. Zappe went in the fourth. Sam Howell in the fifth. Chris Oladokun, Steeler. We might see him this weekend.
Did he make the team?
I don't doubt it.
How many
Skylar
QBs
Thompson is a 7th rounder.
Okay.
So
don't they still have Trubisky and Rudolph?
They got the Biscuits, yeah.
Yeah. I don't think. What's the guy's name? Okie-doke?
Chris Oladokun.
You got Chris Okie-doke?
South Dakota State.
Let me look. I don't think he's on their roster. I'm pretty sure that it is
maybe on
Pickett,
the practice squad, yeah.
Pickett and
the Biscuits.
Trubisky and Rudolph.
Yeah.
Let me see. Their quarterbacks are Pickett, Trubisky, and Rudolph.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, that's their roster.
But to that point, I mean, it just happened last year where the first quarterback was taken at 20, so it won't be this upcoming year.
Oh, God.
I have an inkling that the first pick might be a quarterback.
I got Caleb for before 20th. I do.
Yeah.
I do. And he's coming out no matter what his dad says.